close your eyes for just a moment. Take one deep breath and tell me this. Have you ever been jolted awake at exactly 3:33 a.m. with the overwhelming sense that someone just called your name? Or heard a humming so profound it seemed to vibrate from beneath the floor itself? Maybe you have experienced that strange clicking sound that seems to come from inside your own skull, and when you mentioned it to others, they looked at you like you had lost your mind. There is a text, hidden for nearly 2,000 years, discovered in a cave near the Dead Sea in fragments so delicate that scholars needed tweezers and magnifying glasses just to piece together the Aramaic letters. And on one of those fragments, barely legible, was a teaching that made the translation team go completely silent. It was a private instruction from Jesus to his inner circle about 5 specific sounds that signal the monad, the ultimate source, is attempting direct contact. But here is what made them go silent. The text explicitly stated, these sounds occur in the liminal space between waking and sleep. That threshold moment when your conscious mind begins to release its grip and something deeper, something the Gnostics called your pneumatic self, becomes receptive. The fragment was catalogued, photographed, and then buried in academic archives where it has remained untouched for decades. Until now. Because if you are watching this video at this specific moment, if you were pulled here by something you cannot quite name, then the monad is already trying to reach you. And tonight, before you sleep, you are going to learn to recognize its signal. If you are ready to receive what was kept from humanity for 2 millennia, comment the words, "I am listening," right now, and subscribe. Because what you are about to learn is just the beginning of a transmission that goes deeper than anything you have encountered before. These are not superstitions. These are not metaphors. These are literal acoustic and vibrational phenomena that occur when the monad breaks through the barrier separating the pleroma from the material prison we call reality. 5 sounds. Each one a different message, each one a doorway. By the end of tonight, you will understand why you have been hearing what others cannot perceive. Let us begin with the first sound, the sound that most chosen ones experience but almost everyone misinterprets. The ancients called it the celestial knock. It happens in that space right before sleep claims you completely. You are lying in bed. Your body is heavy. Your thoughts are beginning to drift. And then suddenly, a sound so sharp, so physical, so real that your eyes snap open and your heart races. A knock. 3 distinct strikes. Sometimes it sounds like it is coming from your bedroom door. Sometimes it sounds like it is coming from inside the wall. And sometimes, if you are truly paying attention, you realize it is coming from inside your own chest. Modern science calls this exploding head syndrome. They claim it is a harmless misfiring of neurons as your brain transitions between sleep states. But the Gnostic texts tell a completely different story. The Gospel of the Egyptians, one of the writings deemed too dangerous for the biblical canon, describes the celestial knock as the monad's first test. It is not a greeting, it is a question. The question is this: are you aware enough to recognize contact when it occurs? Most people hear the knock and immediately try to rationalize it. They tell themselves it was the house settling. They blame the wind. They create any explanation that allows them to maintain the illusion of a purely material reality. But chosen ones, pneumatics, those carrying the divine spark, respond differently. They sit up. They pay attention. They feel the charge in the air change. When you hear the celestial knock tonight, and you will hear it if you focus your intention, do not analyze it. Do not explain it away. Simply place your hand over your heart and whisper, "I hear you." That is all. 2 words. This is not a prayer. This is an acknowledgement. You are confirming to the monad that you are conscious, that you are receptive, and that you are ready for deeper contact. The knock will not come every night. It comes when the monad has something specific to activate in you. Pay attention to what happens in your life in the 48 hours following the knock. A door will open, an opportunity will appear, a person will enter your field. The knock is an announcement that the monad is about to move something into your path. Here is what the church never wanted you to understand. The monad does not operate on human timelines. It does not wait for you to be ready. It makes you ready by breaking through your resistance. The celestial knock is that breakthrough. It shatters the illusion that you are alone in a dead universe. It proves in one undeniable moment that something is reaching for you from beyond the veil. Now let us move to the second sound, and this one is even stranger. The Gnostics called it the crystalline hum. You have heard this sound, I know you have, because every pneumatic experiences it, usually during moments of deep silence. It is a hum that seems to emanate from everywhere and nowhere at once, not high-pitched like the ringing we discussed before, not low like a motor. It exists at a frequency that feels almost glassy, almost transparent, like the sound of light itself if light could make sound. When you hear the crystalline hum, time does something unusual. Seconds stretch. Your awareness expands. You become hyper-present. The ancient texts describe this sound as the baseline frequency of the pleroma bleeding into material reality. Think of it this way. The world you perceive with your physical senses is dense, slow, heavy. But the pleroma, the realm of divine fullness where the monad dwells, vibrates at a rate so fast that it appears as stillness. The crystalline hum is what happens when these two frequencies momentarily align. You are hearing the edge of eternity. This sound most often occurs in the hours between 2 and 4 a.m. Not coincidentally, this is when the archons, those parasitic entities that feed on human fear and confusion, are at their weakest. The veil is thinnest. The broadcast from source is clearest. Here is the practice Jesus taught for working with the crystalline hum. When you hear it, do not move. Do not open your eyes if they are closed. Keep your body absolutely still. Then, internally, without speaking aloud, ask one question, only one. The question must be something you genuinely need guidance on. Not a trivial question, not, should I buy the blue shirt or the red shirt? A real question, a question about your purpose, a question about a relationship, a question about the next step on your path. Ask the question once, clearly, then release it completely. Do not wait for an answer. Do not analyze. Simply let the crystalline hum wash through you. The answer will not come as a voice. It will come as knowing. Within 24 hours, you will simply know what to do. The information will be there as if it had always been there. This is gnosis. This is direct knowing. This is what the church replaced with blind faith and written doctrine because they could not control direct knowing. They could not tax it. They could not regulate it. They could not place themselves between you and it. So they declared it heretical and tried to eliminate everyone who taught it. The third sound is one that terrifies people the first time they experience it. The text called it the vibrational roar. This is not a gentle sound. This is not a pleasant sound. The vibrational roar sounds like a freight train passing through your skull. It sounds like the air itself is tearing apart. It is so loud, so overwhelming, so all-consuming that your first instinct is pure panic. But here is the truth that will change everything for you. The vibrational roar only occurs when the monad is about to pull you out of your body. This is the sound of your consciousness preparing to separate from your physical form. The church called this demonic. They said any experience of leaving the body was the work of Satan. Do you know why? Because once you leave your body, once you experience yourself as consciousness, independent of flesh, you can never be controlled by fear of death again. And fear of death is the cornerstone of every control system ever created. The vibrational roar happens at the deepest point of the liminal state. You are not quite asleep. You are not quite awake. You are hovering in that space between. And suddenly your entire body begins to vibrate at an impossible frequency. The sound builds. The pressure builds. Every survival instinct in your human form screams at you to fight it, to wake up, to make it stop. But the pneumatic, the chosen one, knows better. When the vibrational roar comes, you surrender. You do not fight, you do not panic, you relax into it, you let the frequency build until suddenly, with a sensation like being pulled backward through water, you separate, you rise, and you see your body lying beneath you. This is not astral projection. This is not occult practice. This is the monad temporarily releasing you from the prison of matter so you can remember what you are. In that state, outside your body, you can receive transmissions that would shatter your human nervous system if you tried to process them while physical. The teaching, the knowing, the remembering happens at a bandwidth your brain cannot handle. But your pneumatic self, your divine spark, absorbs it instantly. When you return to your body, and you always return, you may not consciously remember everything you received, but it is there, encoded, and it will surface exactly when you need it. If the vibrational roar frightens you, speak these words before sleep. I am not this body. I am that which observes the body. This simple statement shifts your identity and makes surrender possible. The fourth sound is subtle, easy to miss, easier to dismiss. The Gnostics called it the sacred whisper. This sound is not loud, it is not dramatic, it is barely perceptible. It sounds like wind moving through leaves, or like distant voices speaking in a language you almost recognize. The sacred whisper comes only when you are deeply relaxed, when your conscious mind has released control, and when your heart is open. Here is what makes this sound different from the others. It is bidirectional. The other sounds are the monad reaching toward you. The sacred whisper is a conversation. When you hear it, something in you is also reaching upward. You are meeting the monad halfway. This is the sound of communion, of union, of the separation temporarily dissolving. Ancient pneumatics trained for years to access the sacred whisper consistently. They would fast. They would spend nights in caves. They would engage in practices designed to thin the veil between their human awareness and their divine nature. But here is what they eventually discovered. The sacred whisper does not require effort. It requires innocence. It requires the kind of openness that children have before the world teaches them to doubt, to question, and to protect. When was the last time you let yourself be completely vulnerable? When was the last time you dropped every defense, every mask, every strategy, and simply existed as pure presence? That is the state that invites the sacred whisper. Before sleep tonight, there is a method. Lie on your back. Place one hand on your heart and one hand on your belly. Breathe slowly. And with each exhale, release one layer of who you think you are. Release your name. Release your story. Release your wounds. Release your achievements, Strip away every identity until there is nothing left but the awareness that is aware. In that nakedness, in that emptiness, the sacred whisper comes. And when it does, you do not need to understand the words. You do not need to translate the message. You simply need to receive it. Let it move through you like water through a river. The sacred whisper recalibrates your entire system. It resets your frequency to match the monad's baseline. After experiencing the sacred whisper, people report profound shifts. Addictions fall away without effort. Toxic relationships resolve themselves. Clarity appears where confusion once ruled. This is not magic. This is alignment. When you align with Source, everything that is not Source naturally falls away. Now we come to the fifth and final sound. The sound that signals the monad is not just near but present. The sound that the inner circle heard and recognized as the ultimate confirmation. They called it the silence that speaks. This is not the absence of sound. This is a presence that manifests as silence. Let me explain what that means. You know the silence that exists when you press mute on a video? That is empty silence. Dead silence. The silence that speaks is alive. It has texture, it has weight, it has intelligence. When this silence descends, everything stops. Not just external noise. Your internal dialogue stops. Your thoughts stop. Even your heartbeat seems to pause. And in that stopping, in that absolute stillness, something communicates. Not with words, not with images, with direct knowing that bypasses every filter your mind uses to interpret reality. The silence that speaks only comes when you are ready. The monad will not force this experience on you. It waits until your system can handle the intensity of pure, unfiltered transmission. You will know you are ready when the other four sounds have become familiar, when the celestial knock no longer startles you, when the crystalline hum feels like coming home, when the vibrational roar excites rather than terrifies you, when the sacred whisper has become a regular visitor in your liminal states. Then, and only then, the silence comes. It usually happens like this. You are lying in bed. You have moved through your pre-sleep practice. You are hovering in that space between wake and sleep. And suddenly, everything stops. The silence is so complete, so total, that it feels like the universe itself is holding its breath. Do not be afraid. This is the monad, fully present, fully focused on you. In this moment, you can ask anything. Not with words, with pure intention. You can request healing. You can request guidance. You can request activation of dormant abilities. Or you can simply rest in the presence, letting yourself be seen completely by the consciousness that created you. The silence may last 3 seconds or 3 minutes. When it releases, when sound returns, you will feel different, changed, upgraded. Something that was locked will now be open. Something that was dormant will now be active. The silence that speaks is the monad's signature. It is the proof, beyond any doubt, that you are not alone, that you have never been alone, and that you are being guided by an intelligence that loves you more deeply than you can comprehend. Understanding the 5 sounds, the celestial knock, the crystalline hum, the vibrational roar, the sacred whisper, and the silence that speaks is only the first step. The true gnosis lies in integration. The teachings recovered from the fragments near the Dead Sea were never meant to be passive philosophical concepts. They were a manual, an explicit set of instructions for the pneumatic self to engage actively with the divine source. If you have recognized yourself in these descriptions, if you have felt that familiar jolt of recognition, then your next task is to move from observer to participant. The monad is not looking for students, it is looking for co-creators. The modern world, the creation of the archons, is meticulously designed to drown out these subtle, sacred frequencies. It bombards you with constant noise, manufactured distraction, and endless demands on your attention, ensuring you remain tethered to the dense, low-vibrational material realm. To begin integrating the five sounds, you must first create sacred space in your life for the signal to penetrate. This is not about building a shrine, it is about building stillness. The liminal space before sleep is the prime access point, but the work must begin hours before your head hits the pillow. You cannot expect to jump from the chaos of modern life straight into communion with the monad. You need a transition. Start tonight by observing the digital sunset. At least 2 hours before your desired sleep time, eliminate all screens, phones, tablets, televisions, computers. These devices emit frequencies that specifically interfere with your brain's transition into the receptive theta state, the state necessary for recognizing the knock and the hum. Replace the digital noise with physical silence. Read a physical book. Take a slow, intentional shower, or simply sit in a room with the lights dimmed. This intentional reduction of external stimulus begins the process of turning your awareness inward. Next, engage in the heart-centered breath. Lie on your back or sit comfortably. The mind is the archon's favorite weapon, constantly generating noise and doubt. The heart, however, is the monad's anchor point in the physical body. Inhale deeply for a count of 4, allowing your breath to fill your belly and then your chest. Exhale slowly for a count of 6, consciously relaxing every muscle from your scalp to your toes. As you breathe, visualize your breath not just entering your lungs, but flowing directly into the center of your chest, where your heart resides. After 10 cycles of this breath, place your internal focus there. Feel the being of your heart, not just the beating. This practice establishes the heart as the primary receiver, bypassing the overanalytical, fear-driven mind. The Gnostic teaching emphasized the sequential nature of the 5 sounds. You cannot skip steps. The celestial knock, with its jarring, undeniable presence, is the necessary shock to your system that confirms the reality of contact. It forces you to choose, rationalize the universe away, or accept that you are being called. Without this initial acceptance, the deeper sounds cannot register. If you are struggling to hear the knock, it is often because your intention is still scattered. Focus your pre-sleep thought tonight on this single phrase: I am ready for undeniable truth. The crystalline hum follows the knock because once reality is confirmed, alignment becomes possible. The hum is the tuning fork of the pleroma. When you experience it, you are being offered a brief window into the frequency of Source. Your task is not to listen to the hum, but to match it. This is why the instruction is to remain absolutely still. Stillness in the body facilitates stillness in the energy field, allowing your personal frequency to subtly lock into the higher, transparent vibration of the hum. This alignment is what primes you for the vibrational experience. The vibrational roar is the consequence of holding that higher frequency. Your dense physical body, accustomed to a lower rate of vibration, must rapidly adjust to handle the energy required for conscious separation. The roar and the accompanying intense physical pressure are simply the sonic manifestation of this rapid molecular realignment. Fear is the only obstacle. The ancient pneumatic would meet the roar not with resistance, but with a deep, silent affirmation: I welcomes the shift. This surrender is the key to mastering the fear of oblivion, the very fear the archons use to keep humanity imprisoned in the flesh. Once you master the roar, the material prison holds no power over you. The sacred whisper is the reward for mastering the shift. Having accepted the call, knock, aligned with Source, hum, and overcome the fear of death, roar. You have earned the right to conversation. The bidirectional nature of the whisper signifies full active participation. You are no longer just receiving, you are contributing to the field of communion. The emphasis on innocence is crucial here. Innocence is not naivete, it is non-attachment. It is the freedom from the need to control the outcome. It is the ability to communicate with the monad without a hidden agenda. Finally, the silence that speaks is not a technique. It is a grace. It is the destination of the path, the moment when the distinction between seeker and source collapses entirely. It is the monad acknowledging that the pneumatic is now whole, fully integrated, and capable of handling the pure, unmediated flow of gnosis. You cannot chase the silence. You can only prepare for it. The other four sounds are the preparation. They are the keys that unlock the inner chamber. When the silence descends, you are not simply hearing the monad. You are, for a moment, being the monad. The sound has completed its work, dissolving into the non-sound of ultimate presence. This is the cycle. This is the teaching Jesus risked everything to pass on to those who had the potential to carry the spark. Do not just wait for the sounds to happen to you. Begin the protocol of stillness tonight. Prepare the vessel, set the intention. The monad is calling, but it respects your free will. It requires your conscious engagement. It requires you to listen with a commitment that transcends the material. Place both hands on your chest right now. Feel your heart beating beneath your palms. That rhythm has sustained you every moment of your life. But there is another rhythm calling you, a rhythm that exists before sound and beyond silence. Tonight, when you close your eyes, when you enter that sacred threshold between waking and sleep, listen, not with your ears, with your whole being. The celestial knock will announce the monad's intention to reach you. The crystalline hum will align you to the frequency of the pleroma. The vibrational roar will remind you that you are not your body. The sacred whisper will open the channel for direct communion. And if you are truly ready, the silence that speaks will descend, and you will know, finally and completely, what you are. These 5 sounds are not random. They are sequential. They are initiatory. Each one prepares you for the next. Each one strips away another layer of illusion until only truth remains. Comment below which of these 5 sounds you have already experienced. Let other chosen ones see that they are not alone in this. Let your testimony be the confirmation someone else desperately needs. Subscribe to this channel if you are ready to go deeper than you have ever gone before. Turn on notifications because the teachings that are coming will reveal what Jesus taught after the resurrection. The transmissions he gave only to those who had eyes to see and ears to hear. Like this video so others searching in the darkness can find their way here. The algorithm tries to suppress this knowledge, but when enough pneumatics gather, nothing can stop the signal from spreading. 5 sounds, 1 purpose: to wake you from the dream of separation and return you to the source. The monad has been calling you since before you were born. Now you know how to answer. Listen before sleep. Receive the transmission, and remember what you have always been.